If you're brand new to T-SQL, understanding the structure, the basic structure of the select statement, is going to be fundamental for you. Now, if you've been around a while, this might be old news for you, but watch anyway, you could pick up some little statement that you haven't heard before. Now, the main clauses of the select statement, or the main structure that you're going to see most of the time with the select statement, is the select clause, the from clause, the where, group by, having, and order by. So select from, where, group by, having, order by. Now, you won't always use all of those. Most of the time, you will use select from and where in your select statements. You will occasionally use group by. You will occasionally use having. And Microsoft's going to recommend over and over and over that you always include an order by. Now, I don't do it all the time in class here because it's painful enough for you to watch me to try to type this stuff. I do horrible with people watching, but the order by statement is the only way that you can ensure how you're getting the data, the order you're getting the data back from the table, and it's also the only way that you can ensure that you get consistent order from the table. Now let's go through these briefly. The select portion of the select statement is used to specify the columns to be returned by the query. Now we can list our columns, just comma separate them, and whatever order we put them in the select statement is the order they're going to come back to us from left to right. Now, I can put the asterisk in there and no column names, and this will tell the select statement to return all the columns in the table. The from clause, this specifies what tables, views, derived tables, or join tables are going to be used in the query. Now, when we first start out here, we're going to be doing single tables. So we'll say select, we'll put a few columns, first name, last name, from, and we'll specify the table, person.person or whatever. But do know that you can put views, derived tables, and join tables in the place of that table name there, and you can even do some other stuff we'll get into later that's a little more advanced. But just know that from says, okay, this is where I want you to go get the data. Now the where clause, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a separate video, specifies the search condition for the requested rows. We can apply a where clause on any of our columns, where last name starts with L, where last name is equal to long, where age is greater than 43, all those sorts of things. Those go in the where clause. Now the group by clause is one of those things that the first couple of times you see it, you'll kind of feel like a fluorescent bulb. You kind of flicker, and every time you flicker, it stays on a little longer, and then finally you'll get it. But we'll go slow and explain it when we get to the group by later. But this actually groups a selected set of rows into a set of summary rows. It's kind of rolling up summary totals, if you will, by the values of one or more columns or expressions. Once this clicks, and once this starts working and you get your head wrapped around it, there is a lot of power and a lot of ability to provide some really cool output and understanding of your data. The bottom line is you get one row returned for each group. So we can group by product ID, by territory, by salesperson, all that sort of thing. We'll demo that and play with it later. Now, having turns out to be more or less a where clause for the group by functionality. If I use a group by, well, the where clause limits the rows in the select and from. The having specifies a search condition or will affect the search condition after things have been grouped. Let me say that a little cleaner way. Where gets everybody and then groups them. Having limits what goes into the groups. Okay, so we'll talk about that and I'll explain it a little bit later as well. Order by. Order by determines what order the result set comes back to you and what order you see it. Keep in mind, by default, if you don't use order by, it is whatever the clustered index is on the table. In other words, it's however the data is actually stored in what order in the table, and this is even trickier, how the SQL Server query mechanism picked up that data. And it doesn't always do it in the order that we anticipate for all kinds of reasons, and it seems like humidity is one of those. So just keep in mind that order by is going to be pretty significant for you to use on every one of your queries out there in a production database. Now understand, and Microsoft considers it a best practice to use order by because the order of a result set is not guaranteed unless order by is specified. So that's the basic select structure. We'll dig into this and move through here as we go a little deeper and a little deeper into the select statement as we move on through the course.